Law School. We'll be checking in with Mr. Harchie in just a moment. Right now, we want to send it back out to Phil Keating at the courthouse. Phil?
Well, Jim, Judge Richard Mach is notorious for being exactly on time, but however, he is not in the courtroom yet. But having been in the courtroom day after day during this trial, I can tell you that right now you've got the defense team sitting at their tables with Tim McVeigh, who has been brought up from the basement, from his basement cell. And we also have the prosecution team on the other side of the courtroom, all facing the judge's bench. The jury probably hasn't been brought into the courtroom yet because Judge Richard Mach is entering the courtroom right now. Through this phone, I'm getting word on what's happening through the audio listening room in the federal building next to the courthouse. Judge Mach is saying that the jury has arrived at a verdict. At this moment, the judge is telling everyone that the jury right now is known only to the jury at this point. He's cautioning the audience to give no visible facial expressions or visible reaction to the verdict. He wants the courtroom to remain stone-faced. The jury, once he calls the jury into the room, the jury foreperson will hand the verdict to Judge Mach, and then Judge Mach will read it. Right now, the judge is going over some formalities before the verdict is read, before the jury is brought in. Again, it took this jury 24 hours, 7 men and 5 women. It took them 24 hours of deliberation starting Friday morning, over 4 days, to come to a verdict on the 11 counts against Tim McVeigh in this first of 2 Oklahoma City bombing trials.
That's off King's Air. We're hearing King's programming.
Right now, there's silence in the courtroom. I take that to mean that the jury is slowly being let into the courtroom. There's certainly a great sense of anticipation in the audio listening room adjacent to me. The judge just said, members of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
The foreperson is now handing over the verdict to Judge Richard Mach.
Verdict forms being passed to the clerk of the court. Speaker, he will pass.
Jim Manspeaker, who works the courts, the federal courts here in Denver, he's actually being handed the verdict by the jury foreperson, and then Mr. Manspeaker is handing it to Judge Richard Mach. The United States District Court. Judge Mach is reading the title of this case, the U.S. Government versus Tim McVeigh. Unanimous. Count 1, conspiracy weapon to use a weapon of mass destruction, guilty. Count 2, using a weapon of mass destruction, guilty. Count number 3, guilty, destruction by an explosive. Guilty, guilty, guilty on counts 1, 2, and 3 against Tim McVeigh. It's a unanimous verdict by the jury. Count 4, guilty as well. Count 5, guilty in first-degree murder against Donald Leonard. Tim McVeigh is being found guilty on every charge so far. Count 6, first-degree murder against Alan Witcher, guilty. Count 7, guilty as well against Cynthia Campbell Brown. Count number 8, first-degree murder against Kenneth McCullough, guilty. Count 9, first-degree murder against Paul Ice, guilty. Count 10, first-degree murder against Claude Medeiros, guilty. Count 11, first-degree murder against Paul Brocksterman, guilty. Guilty on all 11 counts. The jury finds Tim McVeigh guilty on all 11 counts. There are people applauding here in downtown Denver across the street.
Guilty on all.
Guilty on every count.
Corrected all 11.
You can hear Oklahoma City applauding, and I can tell you right now, pan quick, Kathy. We've got people in, never mind, Kathy, stay with me.